welcome to the final lecture of Popper. In this lecture, we will take a few examples to understand that how the Popperian theories can have certain criticisms or certain problems in it, right? In fact, there are a lot of things where Newton Smith also says when he is commenting on Popper that it is both, like whether you can criticize or whether Popper's own theory is falsified. So he will say the answer is yes or no. So I request all of you to check it. Check Newton Smith version, and you will find that there are certain interesting issues which he has raised. In this lecture, we will also take a few interesting things like that. Let us take an example from probability, right? So we have all gone through probability in our school days, and we understand, like, if there is a coin which is tossed, so the probability of finding head is 1 by 2, and also the probability of finding tail is 1 by 2, right? So we understand it, and we have also solved a lot of questions on that, and we know that this is a and the first thing is that probability is a scientific theory, right? Because it is in principle falsifiable, and it also holds because it has corroborated till now, and till now it has been the case is that the theory of probability, or like suppose if we toss a coin, so whether it will be head, the probability is 1 by 2, whether it will be tail, the probability is 1 by 2, is something which is time and again proved, right? And it has been corroborated. It is yet to be falsified. This is also something which we understand. Now suppose we take one fine day, we have started tossing a coin, right? We toss the coin 5 times. We planned that we will toss the coin 10 times, right? And see whether we get these results 1 by 2, 1 by 2, right? So we tossed for the first 5 times and we found that head came. So in the next 5 times, if the tail comes, then the theory is corroborated, or else it is going to be falsified, right? And if we toss the coin for next 5 times and we find that the coin comes out to be head again, so is it the case that the theory is falsified? Now try to understand that the way Popper has explained, as well as the way theories like probabilities are, there may not be a very clear, I'm again not passing a judgment. I'm also not asking you to judge Popper's understanding from, say, probabilities point of view, right? But try to understand when we will find a case like this. Like suppose we toss a coin for 100 times and hundreds, and till the 100th time the coin has come out to be head. It's not the case that it can happen, but or it has happened, but it can happen. You cannot change the or say have an implication, or you have like that, okay, I have tossed the coin for 5 times and 5 times it has come out as head, so the next time the tail will come, because then it is also going to be a biased coin, right? Like suppose if I have planned to say toss the coin for 1 time, so what will happen? It will either come as head or tail, so the other probability is completely gone, right? So those kind of things. Now whether in these scenarios or in these cases, whether Popper's theory is corroborated, confirmed, falsified, tested, and blah blah blah, those things which we know, it becomes a difficult pick, or it becomes a difficult issue for anybody to I will say discuss or judge that how you are going to read this understanding, right? So and whether a single observation, like we have tossed the coin 5 times because we planned to toss the coin 5 times, and every time the head came, so the probability or the observed inference has actually proved the theory of probability wrong, right? So these kind of questions or these kind of things will be a very difficult thing for us to answer, or at least from the Popperian understanding to answer. So one such thing was like this. Now there is also an interesting case regarding the bridge problem. The bridge problem is also something which Newton Smith has brought, and it is a very interesting one. Like suppose we need to build a bridge from here to here, like this is point A, this is point B, right? So there is a tried and tested way of making the bridge. Okay, so we know that this is the tried and tested way of making the bridge. Say, let us call this construction of bridge, right, as the alpha style. Okay, now there is a new theory which has come, which says that you can draw or build the bridge between 2 points like this. Okay, so this theory has come that you can develop a bridge like this, and this is a brand new theory. Fine, so let us call this theory or this technique as technique B. Okay, now the question is which theory should you go for? Because you have two probabilities. One is a tried and tested theory. This is a tried and tested theory. Fine, so we have a tried and tested theory, and it is yet to be falsified. Fine, okay, and this is a brand new theory, and it is also yet to be falsified. Neither, it has not been even tested, so it is yet to be falsified, right? Okay, now normally speaking, not from a Popper's point of view, you will find that most of the people will say that something has been tried and tested, so we should always go for this theory, because this is something which is a tried and tested theory, and we are planning to say build a bridge, so we should go for it. Now, according to Popper, there is nothing wrong here, and he will say that we have equal probabilities, because normally speaking, or from a non-Popperian point of view, if you will ask somebody, so they will always say that this, because this is something which is also commonsensical, that something has been tried and tested and it has proved itself, it has proved its mettle. So why to try a new theory? Why to take so much of risk? But if you see, in this case, the risk is higher, right? You understand? The risk is higher. Here the risk is very, very less. Why? Because it has been corroborated as per Popper's understanding. So according to Popper, if you ask Popper, will say that you should try this theory, or else common sense will say that we should try the above one. And there is a problem over here. You can also understand it from another point of view, that every time a brand new theory will come, it will be curtains from the decisions point of view. It will be curtains from the decisions point of view to accept the theory which has been corroborated for so many years, rather than to give chance to a theory because it is having high risk, right? So this kind of, or this line of reasoning is also something where Popper's understanding, or Popper's theory, or Popper's way of doing science were questioned. I am not in a position actually to comment on these things, because even if I am, I will like to keep the judgment held in abeyance for some time, because let us try to go more into the theories of philosophy of science and make our own judgment, and my judgment should not be, or my criticism should not affect your point of view, and therefore there is a need for you to first go through a lot of more theories before we actually go on to judge that how these things or these problems need to be taken care of. But somewhere down the line, it has been also said by Popper that the problem of demarcation, like suppose we were talking about the problem of demarcation before, like the pseudoscience here and the science here, and we know that this is the problem of demarcation. You can put science over here and pseudoscience over here as well. So this is pseudoscience. There is a decision. The decision which makes something a pseudoscience, and decision which makes something a science. In fact, there is a decision which makes this science falsified as well at some point of the time, or it is yet to be falsified at some other point of time, right? So that can be the case for pseudoscience as well, because if it is a decision, because try to understand, everything is going to be a decision where we actually take a decision in order to bring something up, or in order to accept something, or in order to reject something, right? So these small things, or these small issues which were raised against Popper, I guess so. What I will say that those will be taken care of in the later parts of our say understanding, or of the theories which we will be working. But if you see that for Popper, these were certain problems, or these were certain things where Popper or Popper's theory will not give us a direction to go forward in our understanding of how to take up a theory, or whether we should give chance to a new theory or an old theory, and why we should give chance to a new theory when the old theory has proved its mettle. And if you are calling something a science and a non-science precisely because of decision, so it will be applicable also for falsification, it will be also applicable for something considering as a pseudoscience, and so on. And when Popper also said that there can be a scientific explanation as well as a non-scientific explanation of Freudian theory, of Marxian theories, and so on. So these have raised some kind of issues or problems. But before we finish our lecture, and we keep our judgments intact for the time being, because when we will be dealing with other philosophers of science, so we will be in a better position to discuss Popper as well as discuss other say phases of science, or things which sciences have done, or whether something has to be called as science or non-science. I will like to tell you one thing more, because this is something which Kuhn, the next philosopher of science which we will be discussing, will have difference of opinion with Popper. Popper said that, say suppose there is an activity which needs to be performed, fine. So like suppose if I say that there is a work which we have, and for this there are infinite number of theories, okay. So what, we can never find the best theory, because we can test at the max one theory at a time. Like suppose there is this theory, so we test A, till the time test the A it is working, it is yet to be falsified, it works, then we take theory B, then we take theory C, then we take theory D, and so on. And this is infinite, okay. This is not finite, this is infinite. So even after rejecting finite set of theories, you are never sure that what you are working with is a good theory, is a better theory, is the best theory, and you are never going to have you will never be able to exhaust the list of ways through which something can be done. There are certain implications of that as well, which we will be discussing when we will be discussing Kuhn. But for the time being, try to understand a couple of things before we finish our lecture here. First thing, for any kind of science or any kind of work, there are infinite number of theories, right? We test at least, and at max also, one theory at a time. And if it is falsified, so when we go to the next theory, then we go to the next theory, and so on. And in this way, you can never complete the set of studies or the set of theories, and so on. So in the nutshell, you need to remember only a few things. We know what is falsification, we know what is demarcation, we know confirmation and its difference with corroboration. We also know say there can be a scientific and a non-scientific explanation of something. We know about good scientific behavior, risk-taking scientific behavior. We know that whenever we put a theory to test, it has to pass the test, and by passing the test it only corroborates, it never confirms the theory. But a good scientific behavior is associated with this, that if you are finding a fault with your own theory or system, so you report it and you make a better theory rather than you make a makeshift arrangement in that. And Lastly, with all these things, if you understand, with all these things, if you see, so the most important thing which Popper has told us, or which from Popper's study, which we understand, is that falsification or falsificationism is the key, right? That if you can falsify a theory, then it is going to be scientific. If it is in principle falsifiable, then it is going to be scientific, irrespective of the fact that something has been proved wrong. So it's trying to move on as well. We know that at some point of the time some theory will fall the test of time, and it has to be falsified and it has to be left there to bring a new theory. So that is the time when we need to move on from that theory, because not everything will stay forever. So a few of the jottings from Popper which I was talking about, but these concepts and these things will keep on coming when we will be discussing Kuhn, Feyerabend, Lakatos and Lorden and so on. So I request you to go through all these things again, and if you have any doubts you can ask, or you can take up all those things in the class, and we can take more examples on these things. But in the nutshell, the important thing from Popper's study which we have found out is that sciences are falsifiable, and how you decide something is a science or a non-science is also based on a decision. A hard but it's a difficult but a truth which we need to live with. So thank you very much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, you come out with in the class. Thank you.